Okay, good evening everyone. Welcome back to the second edition of the Startups Meetup. Thank you for coming today. We're a bit worried because we know if it rains a lot, people don't go anywhere, right? But luckily it stopped raining. We prayed to the weather gods and here we are. And quite a mixed bunch when I look around. I know some of you, I don't know some of you, which is kind of representative of what we have for you today. Before I tell you about what's happening today, I just want to recap about what's happened in the last 3 months. Last time we held this was in February, because we're running this quarterly, and since then we have seen 24 meetups here in Split. Has anyone been to any other meetups between February and now? I know some of you are lying. You're meant to make noise if you've been to some. No one's been to Tino, for example? No? Tino?
Yes.
Oh, there we go, thank you. What about any design? Did anyone go to any design meetups? Silence. You're just coming to our meetup. That's nice of you. No one went last week to the, there was a VC, a meetup about VCs. Tilda Loop. No? Yes, okay. Well, make some bloody noise, for goodness sake. Not me. What else? There was also the next conference, run by Split Tech City. Over 300 high schoolers went. Imagine 300 high schoolers going to talk about entrepreneurship and tech here in Split. Like, did you have that when you were a teenager? Because I can see maybe some of you can't remember. That was in Yugoslavia for some of you here. Did you have those kind of things back then? No? No? Was there tech here? I know you had like one internet cable at one point.
Nothing was here indeed.
Nothing was there. We also had Hack for Split and a Changemakers conference. Now let's see if the audience is here. There was even a League of Legends night. Who went to that? Own up. No one's going to say. There was an esports night as well?
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Who said yes? Okay. You go to everything.
No, they're only sponsored by Lucas.
Oh, okay. And who? Lucas, okay. And obviously we've also seen Studentsky Poduzetnički Inkubator running their program, and also SPP, Studentsky Poduzetnički Projekti, also run their own stuff as well. Is anyone here from SPI?
Yes.
There we go. Oh, 2 hands now. Slowly getting there. Anyone from SPP? Super? No hands? No. Okay, fine. Very dull audience. We should have handed out the beers first, Nicolina. As you can see, there is PP, there is water, there are beers in the fridge. Help yourself later. You're stuck now. You should have looked first. But yeah, unlucky for you. What do we have tonight? So we first of all have a panel. Last time we had the founders here. This time we have their first employees here to hear really what is life like working for a startup. You can have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 founders, but after that you have many employees. Ante, you're right in front of me. How many employees do you have now?
45.
45. How many founders?
4.
4. Excellent. Yeah, so 10 for every founder. So we thought what would be good is not everyone here is going to be a founder, but there's a chance that also many of you could end up working for a startup here in Split if we grow things the way we want to. Which on that note, last time we welcomed Diamond Labs, who are back here. That starts tomorrow. If anyone wants to come, there's still a few spots available. It's a 2-day design sprint focusing on Web3, green tech, culture, and tourism. Yeah, so come and speak to us at the end if you want to. And also, Variance was here last time. We caught up, Jason and I caught up in Castella because that's the place to be. And we talked about how much money there is available, but nobody wants it. So if you are a startup, go and speak to Jason at the end. He's got loads of money. Loads. Yeah? No, really. That's why he lives in Castella. The Castella Riviera. And he lives in Novi, because it's a lot more elite than study. Sucharac, really? We don't count you as Castella. No, really. You're like just...
Yeah, it's close by.
Yeah, you're just where all the Orklibi are. So. Okay, let's move on, because otherwise if we start this debate, then we'll fight.
Religious forest.
Yeah, that's it. And you've got to speak to me now, so... okay, so let's welcome up first of all our panel for today. We've got 3 first employees. First up, Ivan Veštić from GetByBus. Round of applause, please. Very well supported. So let's see how well Iva Kegalj from Litto is supported. And finally, we have Josip Volarević from D-Reader. Okay, have a seat. You've got a glass of water there. So we're going to go straight. Have you seen me moderate panels before?
No, only get in the ring.
Only get in the ring. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
So you don't really know
somewhat.
what to expect. It's fine. It's fine. Cool. Okay, so what I want to know first of all is where you work, briefly what you do, like what your company does, like one sentence, and how long have you worked there for?
Well, I'm the CEO and the co-owner of Litto Agency. It's the tourist agency based in Split. We're actually developing a website for booking accommodation and experiences for tourists. And I've been working there for 4 years.
4 years, perfect.
GetByBus, it's actually not just GetByBus, it's also GetByFerry and everything else, like transport-wise. It's not just selling web tickets, as someone might assume. It's like a full platform for managing the allotments and everything else. And I've been there for 8+ years, more than half of that as a team lead.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm at D-Reader, building our sole platform D-Reader for discovering, trading, collecting, and self-publishing digital comics. We're actually really a young startup of 7 months. Legal entity was started 3 months ago, and the team is of 7 people now, 3 founders and 4 employees.
Okay, perfect. And has your job title changed from when you started to now?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I was employed there. I came there as a student, and I started working there as a property manager. And then I came to the role of sales representative, and then business developer, and now I'm the CEO.
So in
Yes.
4 years,
Yes,
you went
in
from
4
student
four
to
years.
CEO.
Yeah, it was a bit stormy, but it's like quite interesting way.
Okay, cool. And yourself?
Kind of just one jump, basically, from just a developer to a senior developer slash team lead.
Okay, nice.
On halfway, kind of.
Okay.
Who knows next?
And do you?
Yeah, I'm not sure if there was some kind of confusion with our communication, but I'm actually the founder of D-Reader, so not quite first employee, but I definitely started first few months as a developer and then shifted my role as something more towards business development and, I don't know, public relations or you name it.
Okay, so now you're less developing, more.
Definitely not developing.
Okay, cool. And your employees are the developers.
Yes, there are 2 developers and 1 designer in the team.
Okay.
I'm trying to develop, but it's more like me letting go over my passion at this point. So, yeah.
And who is your first employee?
The first employee was not talking about the founder team,
No.
or it was designer and developer pretty much on the same day.
Okay. So obviously you're an employee. Could you ever imagine yourself being a founder of a startup? Not GetBy, for example, but
I mean,
because you've seen looking at this guy maybe.
currently I don't have such ambitions. I mean, how I got into the dev scene and everything was basically, I did start like a hobbyist project in terms of, there was a portal for Split here. It's called Croatia ST, somebody maybe heard of it, maybe not. But basically I went around and took photos of events and stuff like that, and I was kind of founding that, but it was just like a hobby during the student days and whatnot. And how I got into development was basically, I started with the website via CMS, blah, 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 saw a problem there, I needed customization, then okay, let me just see what can I do about this, and then that kind of evolved into me getting into it more, and especially with college and everything. So,
Okay. Cool.
but no mission so far in that regard.
So we've got 4 years as in a startup, 8+ years. Obviously, it's evolved a lot.
Current one, yeah.
Yeah, and 7 months. Okay, so how has your definition of what a startup is changed from when you started there as a student to where you are now? Has your definition changed? Has your understanding changed?
Company in general.
Little, yeah.
Later, yes. Well, it was there were 4 years, but it was a quite challenging way, because not only that we are developing a website, we are also doing property management and reservation management for our clients. And we established a lot of processes there, and it was a quiet way to set the whole bunch of the rules to make everything work at the company. And I'm happy that I had a chance to participate in all of that, and that that my colleagues Marco and Antonio gave me a chance to be part of it. And today I can say that Litto is a well-established company here, and we are actually, I can say, doing a good job for the moment, and I'm looking forward to some other stuff that are being planned for quite of time. We have like some kind of the pause during the pandemic years, and now we are trying to do our best to scale it a bit, and that's it, to reach our goal.
And so, for example, when you started Litto as a student,
Yes.
you saw, what did you see it as? What was this company?
Just a
Was it like, wow? Was it like, oh, was it, oh, it's another tourist agency? Was it like, oh, this guy's got vision?
Well, they had a vision for me when I applied for the job, because the job description was quite interesting, and it was a good fit for me just by the description. And with enrolling to that position, I found out a lot about those guys over there, because Litto is actually a sister company of Locastic, so I was familiar with the people working there, and I had a good feeling that it could be well connected with people here in the community, and that it has a good vision, and that they have a good idea, and that they know that what they're doing. So it was a good feeling to be the part of the team.
Okay, cool. And for yourself, obviously taking on that first employee, how do you kind of explain to them that you're not this kind of multi-million company, but you're a startup and you've got this vision? How do you convince them to join your team, perhaps?
Well, I guess the idea is to actually first start with people that are your first-hand connections, which have at least some kind of minimum trust set up with you. For example, those were my colleagues at previous jobs, or maybe from the college. So there's not much need to convince in terms of actually the vision. If people have trust in you, it's more like just convincing them, yeah, this is long term, it can last more than, I don't know, 6 months maybe, maybe 12. Yeah, I guess it's more talk towards that, but that was convincing enough as soon as we established our first few months with the idea and won some kind of grants and initial funding. So it wasn't too hard to buy them onto the idea.
Okay, perfect. I have no idea what the banging is. But if it's a sledgehammer, then I'm guessing every 8 swings and he'll stop for a bit. So he's probably had a few beers already as well. So how does that resonate with you from when you arrived and they were like, oh my God, this is GetByBus and we're gonna change the world?
Yeah, I actually never heard of GetByBus prior to started working at it. I transitioned from another completely also not tech company with a Auto Antonio. Some of you probably bought tires there for cars. It was a funny story always when people ask me like, where are you working? I'm like, at Auto Antonio. Where are you? After FESB you started selling tires or whatever? So no, but actually they have a website, web shop, they need programmers as well. Ah, okay, that makes sense. So I transitioned from that just by chance. I ran into Morten, the CEO of GetByBus. I knew him from earlier. From the student days, a long time no see, let's grab a coffee, because I moved basically door next door where the office was as a tenant, and just by chance came across him. Let's meet up in a few days if you have time, meet with Ante, this guy here. We're working on some cool projects, so, just as a chat. Okay, fine. Then they told me about the project and everything. I mean, the transportation industry as itself has like lots of potential in terms of like market and everything. But other than that, what was most interesting for me compared to my previous 2 employments was potentially being able to work as part of a larger team or something, because so far, up until that point, I was basically the only one kind of developer with alongside maybe a designer or something like that. There was a bunch of like product people and everything else, but and the CEO, who just be getting not orders, but somewhat like that. And then working in an actual environment with both career-wise, like with software, proper processes and everything was appealing to me at the time. So that's what basically got me.
Okay, so you talked about trust, people talked about being part of this different team, and you also talked about this trust before. So you all chose to work in a startup, and your employees choose to work for you. It's not like there wasn't a choice between working for, say, a corporate or a startup. But now looking back, are there other reasons why you prefer working there than, say, maybe what you hear from your friends or colleagues who have worked in other places?
Well, I had a chance to experience both corporate and startup, and I like the feeling to be a part of the team and to be active in all the processes. To my opinion, to be heard. So that's the emotion I got from Marco and Antonio and our whole team. And I got enough space to do something by myself. That's quite important for someone at that age as a student with some gained experience to grow in that way. So that's the reason why I liked it, and I still like it since I'm here for the 4 years. Actually, the company was open by the end of 2018. I got there in April 2019. So that's the reason why I'm here. I like to see all the rewards of my work.
Okay, yeah, you're not just a cog in a machine. Kind of.
Yes.
Cool.
For myself, I mean, it changed over the years, of course. Initially, as I said, but later on, when the team grew and my responsibilities also changed, but also the impact. I had impact from the beginning as well, because basically it was just me, one other colleague as a developer, and alongside Ante, of course. So anything basically we do is like affected immediately on the end user, on the buyer, on whoever is using the product. But over the years, like you get to educate other people as you gain more experience, so you get the impact there, and that's also kind of interesting, like to be involved with both as a larger ecosystem as a team, but also like to see how does your product affect the end user or the buyer or whatever partner.
Okay. Perfect.
To have an impact on all of those fronts.
Yeah. So you've heard from these two the importance of, say, company culture. Have you started thinking about what your company culture is, or it could be quite natural? It could be from you personally.
Yeah. To continue on their topic from the perspective of me as an employer, in the talks with my employees, I've actually came to a few conclusions how they decided to actually have that choice to move to a startup life. And this one might sound silly, but designer actually kind of found peace in participating in a startup, which is a bit weird considering the nature of startups. But for him personally, he was a freelancer, and as a designer, he just has maybe 2-day job, maybe 1 month job, maybe 3 months. But he kind of got tired with 30 contracts per year, and this is an opportunity for him to work for a single client, which has quite a vast portfolio of stuff that needs to be done. So from promotional stuff on social media, from actual brand identity, 3 different websites and applications, mobile application. This is a good opportunity for him to actually find peace by working for a single employee, but also working on all the different skills, different fields that he could work on. And in terms of developers, it was partially opposite from them. They were working on a job full time for 1 to 2, 3 years, and kind of wanted that shift into a bit of a wilderness. So maybe less tickets, less specification, less organization. But it's mostly actually because of the technology. So we picked the silliest blockchain at that time, Solana, which was, I don't know, dying every 1 month. And it was actually quite interesting to work on those cutting edge technologies there and participate, not just being influential in the life of a startup, but also being influential on the creation of the blockchain itself, because there was only quite a handful of developers at the time when we first started. So we kind of ganged up before a year. But the startup actually started 7-8 months ago. We worked on different projects as well before that.
If I may just add to all of this, the difference between working for the corporation and startup, you don't get a lot of chances for promotion when working for a corporation, especially in tourism industry. When you're working for a travel agency or the hotel or something like that. And working in a startup environment give you chances to learn a lot, because you have to be the jack of all the trades, to do sales, to do marketing, to do, I don't know, some basics, and to improve your skills like that. So that's what attached me to Litto, to work in the startup.
Okay, a bit of variety,
Yeah.
more relaxed, not as rigid as bigger companies, and also, like you were saying, a bit riskier as well. You can take on some of these tasks that maybe would not be touched by other people?
Yes, there is all set of the rules at the corporate industry, and in the startup, the environment is more flexible, and that's also a big plus. But there are different kinds of stresses in both of them.
Okay.
And also things sometimes need to get done. You don't help people to get done, so you do it yourself.
Yeah.
And then later, when you get the opportunity, you delegate to those people to those specific roles. But up until that point, you're still basically, as she said, jack of all trades, doing all things.
Fully hands-on.
Yeah.
Well, that brings me to my next section, which is about startup myths. So obviously, I don't know if anyone's watched, any TV show or movie about Silicon Valley, but we have our perception. We kind of think we know what it's going to be like. So I'm going to run a few of these past you, and you need to tell me if it's true or not. And if it is true, I want to hear a story about it. Okay? Startup myth number 1. At some stage, you'll work in a garage. True or not true?
In my case, no.
No?
No, but I did actually move some tires at Antonio. When I was but it's not a startup, so
Okay.
I don't know if it counts.
The three of us from the team work in a basement. We have kids and we cannot put kids into the basement without being weird, so we had to put ourselves in the basement. So it's a basement pig for us.
Okay, good. And what kind of basement? Like a dark, dingy one, or like?
Yeah, with no walls actually being set up and maybe some mouses here and there and such. So at least in my case, the other guys have it a bit better. But we mostly pull the curtain on this side and use the blur background on the video, so it kind of looks okay. Besides the lighting that's kind of poor.
Okay.
That's the setup.
So Silicon Valley garage, Split Valley.
Yeah, we don't have garages out here. So.
No. Well, you do, but they're all in a row. So
Yeah.
good. Okay, next one. You're not paid if you're an employer or a startup. You're not paid in money. You're paid in shares.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yeah, the wages are not as high as they should be, but you're always looking for a higher reward in future. So that's what's actually running me to go forward.
No, we do actually get paid in salary. Some of the shares actually came later when we became a part of a bigger group, but that's sort of like different by chance, I think.
I guess I'm still in too early phases to actually get any kind of money. I'm actually quite set up from personal jobs and savings, so no, the faucet is still not open for myself. I first have to think of the treasury, the company's treasury, and the team if I want to make it a long run. But I don't know, maybe one day, maybe in 2-3 years, who knows?
Okay.
Sometimes maybe just in exposure, not even shares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. All founders are under 30.
No. No.
No.
At the time, some of them.
Yeah, one we call a grandpa because he has around 40 years. The other guys are mostly 25 to 30, I guess. The other founder is 27, like I am.
Okay. Perfect. Good. You can only succeed if you get loads of investment.
Well, it depends which kind of the investment. Is it financial? Is it in
Financial.
yeah. In our case, we're actually using resources from our sister company. So we're actually we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So at this moment, we don't have a need for the financial resources. Sorry. But at some point, I'm sure we'll need it to scale. Not to success, but to scale.
From my experience, I would say not required, but I guess that it all depends on the appetite and what do you count as like success. So is it like global or is it like competing with somebody or just like staying afloat, or I guess it depends. So not required, yeah.
Loads of funds? No, I wouldn't say so. 2 to 5 million, good work, definitely. Yeah, it's in our case, it's definitely good to have some because we're building, especially our first audience is blockchain, familiar with people that are familiar with NFTs and cryptos. So considering the whole bear market and stocks falling down, we definitely need funds to live through this bear market for the next 2 years. So we have funds for, I don't know, maybe half a year, more, maybe a year, but we definitely need that long-term picture.
You have to work 20 hours a day.
Sometimes, yeah.
Every
a lot.
day?
Not every day. Sometimes when you have deadlines, when you set yourself a goal that you have to reach, then you have to work more than 8 hours, but not every day. Sometimes, and also weekends, but not all the time.
Not required, but the production is not working or something like that. You got to make sure that it is working. Up until then, you just keep the laptop on.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm still lying myself that I don't have to. I actually, all founders and co-founders pretty much have to, especially in early phases, and not necessarily employees. And I actually had quite a few fights on Twitter over it because, I don't know, some influential developers on Solana blockchain mentioning that if you don't have a single commit on a Sunday in the last 2 months, you're pretty much not welcome to my company. So, I don't know, my answer is not 20, but maybe more like 16, 15, 3 of us. Yeah, we do shifts. I keep their kids at my house for a week, then we rotate. So.
Wow, daddy daycare. Speed is key. If you're not fast in the market, you're going to lose out and your startup's going to fail.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, you have to adapt very quickly, follow the trends, and to be active all the time to see what's going on in the UX, UI, what's new feature that someone else has added to implement to your product. To see how the users behave and stuff like that. And in tech industry, it's really challenging. So you have to be up to date to be competitive with others.
I guess depends on the product or service, whatever. Ours is kind of seasonally oriented in terms of sales and whatnot. So, I mean, up until a point, you can have like a buffer that you're maybe slightly behind, but as long as you're keeping along, that's gonna be fine. But too long don't read. Yes, it is important to be fast.
So maybe I would answer yes if it wasn't the blockchain. It's quite a specific space where the whole company can go down in a single day. And I don't know, Magic Eden is an NFT marketplace on Solana, which in 4 or 5 months became a unicorn, maybe 2 or 3 times. The income was so large, and they had 98% of the market share. 2 weeks ago, they actually became the second marketplace on Solana. And that's because if you start early on an unknown technology, you actually have to chew all that glass while developing and trying to figure out how to do this because there is no solution for it. And when you build it, somebody just picks it up and takes your idea and they just do it even better. And you're stuck with this old code base, which cannot be refactored. You have this technical debt to pay off, and this guy is pretty much 3 times faster than you. So in our case, sometimes we're moving a tiny bit slower because we see a new solution rising on Solana, and rather than us investing time into building a solution like that, why not just sit it out and wait for somebody else to build it? So not quite in our case.
Okay. So there are 6 myths, obviously different responses depending on the market, the sector you're in, and the startup you work for. Does anyone else have any other myths they want to know if they're real or not? Startup myths? Not yet? Okay, if you come up with one, you've got a chance later to ask it. You were touching on the challenges, the highs and lows of working for a startup. Just actually starting with you because you seem to have like a basement with kids or something like that. Can you think of any highs or low, or preferably both? I don't want to be, just depressing, but
highs and lows
in running your startup, getting people on board, something that really sticks out.
Moments of success and moments when we're deep down in the mud. In a single day, the mood can change at least 5 times. So maybe we just did some kind of huge win with a successful partnership, and I guess major wins come every month or 2. If there are no major wins in a long period, things are going to stagnate and we're going to reach the dead bottom. So biggest win would be hackathon that we won on Solana with 800 projects participating. We were third on mobile track. And the lowest one was for our product. We kind of hope that found the product market fit, so we don't have issues there. I guess the bottom is only when you're in dissonance with, disconnected with co-founders, because you have these awesome people working with you and next to you and all the employees, and you see somebody not satisfied with your approach, or you're not satisfied with theirs, and you just like that discomfort. You just want to build stuff, and you want to enjoy it. So the bottom is mostly when there's some kind of quarrel internally, in my opinion. Maybe we're going to hit some bottom with huge expenses one day, but so far it's only those internal issues.
Interesting, great. Yeah. What about you then?
For us, I mean, basically we have quarterly goals. So there's there's no like this one day crashes or anything like that in that regard in this industry. We only had like one thing which lots of people had. It was a higher poverty with the COVID was kind of the lowest part, like in general. And then on the upside, this when we joined like a larger group with more companies along our side. We have now more opportunity basically for not just growth, but like to explore more things and everything like that. So.
And when that did happen, what's the group called?
Actually, it got rebranded recently. It was up until recently Bookaway Group, but now it's Travelier.
Travelier, okay, yeah.
So
And did you feel that personally as an employee when you became part of that? Like, cool, that's part of my doing.
bit of both. I mean, it was effort like from all of us, which kind of, I guess, shine the spotlight on the company and whatnot. Which I mean, it's some of these things happen behind the scenes between the CEOs and everything, and then but I guess if it wasn't up to the the lowest level, then none of these things. We also put a lot of this effort in, for example, customer support, because you don't want somebody to be waiting for 5 days for reply. You want to get the result immediately. Somebody will put more effort on other things, but for example, those are also everything counts, so to speak.
Yeah. So, what about yourself, highs and lows? You've obviously been in different levels, different jobs.
Yes, actually, company highs and lows. We just started. Our first business year was in 2019, and it was really good. It was like the peak, the best season ever in Croatia, since all of our revenue is generated from the property management, and that's how we are financing the development of the website. And it was a great year for us, but it was the beginning, so I cannot rate it as a high or low, but the low was 2020 when pandemic hit us all, like GetByBus, whatever. And it was a bit tricky because we had just started, and we should be just scaling, then everything stopped for us. But in the next year, in 2021, that was our best financial and business year when we gained profit.
Mm-hmm.
So it was great hype at that time, but it was filled with small gaps and challenges. So it was actually at the same time we were crying the tears of the laughter and the joy. So it was quite exciting, but now we're just getting better and better. So we're just reaching our highs.
Okay, yeah, cool. Who in here works for? Put your hand up if you're a founder of a startup, founder of an SME, founder of a company, founder of a non-profit. Hands up again so I can see where everyone is. Okay, cool. And put your hand up if you're an employee of a startup. Employees of a startup. A few people are like, am I an employee of a startup? And looking at the bosses, am I still an employee? Because you didn't put your hand up? Okay, there's a mix out there. Before we go into our last question, I have a game for us. So there was a TV show in England called Snog, Marry and Avoid. Okay, I know there's a new version of this, but we're not going to go into that. So Snog, you want to kiss the person, marry, you want to marry the person, avoid, you want to avoid the person, yeah? But we're going to do it with startups. And you have to pick one for Snog, one for Marry, one for Avoid. The 3 startups, they're all well known and quite big now. You have Airbnb, yeah, SpaceX, and Uber. So have a think. Which one would you like to Snog? You know, spend a year or 2 with? Which one would you want to marry? Maybe be the founder of? And which one would you want to avoid?
It's a tricky question. You
Oh,
have to think about it.
That's why I
It's not-
warned you in the beginning. Have you
Yeah.
ever seen me host things
We
before?
cannot give you an instant answer.
No, but normally I'm getting people to answer instantly, so this is quite nice of me.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. So is there any startup there that you think avoid straight away?
SpaceX.
SpaceX, yeah, was
SpaceX?
Yeah.
just a bad rep of the main guy.
And maybe all 3. Like,
Would
All
buy
3
the-
can kiss and say goodbye. I don't know.
yeah, that's the point of kissing. That's the point of it's snob. So it's like, yeah, just
And maybe marry and say goodbye. I don't know.
who would you want to marry and say goodbye to?
Um,
You've kind of got rid of SpaceX, so you've got Airbnb and Uber. Obviously, you know, I picked these for a reason.
Yeah, okay. I would like to be part of the Airbnb community. They're like huge and they are doing a great job, both for the travelers and the hosts, and it would be exciting to be the part of their group.
Okay.
If I have to answer, I don't know, Airbnb maybe for the Merry one, because seems more stable than the transport one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't have anything more special to it.
Now, there's obviously a lot of factors that go into that. You know, company
Yeah.
culture, who they are, where they've come from, who their founder is. All
Yeah,
of that
but most
stuff.
of that we anyway get from the media and whatnot, so you know, who will know how much is
Yeah.
merit to all those things.
No, that's true. That's true. And also the effect that these places have on locations as well. We're here in Split. We see the effect. We don't see the effect of SpaceX yet, but we see the effect of Airbnb and Uber here. So that was also one of the reasons behind that. Okay, last thing to finish for you guys is tips for others to either start their own startup, to be an employee, or to employ someone. You can choose whichever one you want. So for you, you're probably going to say tips for employee. And for you two, you can pick either working for one. If you have any tips, how do you find that job? How do you make sure that you're in the job that you want to do? How do you pick the right startup? Maybe there are wrong startups to work for.
Who's answering first?
Whoever wants to, yeah. Over to you.
Well, I may say that it takes time to reach for your personal, to your professional goal actually in the startup. But I think that it's also about the journey and the destination here in this case, because you learn a lot. You have a chance to connect with a lot of people in the community. Maybe you are paid a bit less, but at the end you have a chance to establish your own department, to manage the team, and you have many options which are dependent on you, and you can be one of the shareholders in the future. Those are like some of the pros. One being an employee, and from the employer's perspective, it's a bit difficult to find team members who are actually dedicated to work as you are, and it's hard when you find them when they're in the same or similar level as you are. It's hard to maintain a good relationship to fulfill all of their needs, because you don't have enough money, you don't have enough of the resources, you cannot give them some benefits or the perks that some bigger companies have. So it also depends on your team members, how they are. But in general, I can say it's a quite good experience, and I would recommend it to everyone. And I'm pretty happy that I had a chance to experience it both.
Cool, perfect. So patience.
Yes, patience is the key.
I mean, I can only say from the perspective of the employee, but I would say it all depends on your goals, aspirations, and whatnot. If you feel like exploring initially while you're younger, do it more. So not necessarily like a pure gut feeling, but if something doesn't fit, the money will come eventually. It's not all about the money. For me, personally, when I was transitioning, it wasn't about the pay difference. If it was at all, it was more about this, like the fit and what was I looking for at that moment. Because if you don't explore it while you can, still with not married, no kids and whatnot, then you're gonna have more trouble exploring later. So from that perspective, and also like now as a team lead and everything, like how to pass on when we are looking for new people, like retention is also like one of the first questions would be also, I mean, it's a cliche, but like how do you see yourself working here? Because if you're not interested, it's just something along the way until another opportunity, then maybe you're not even like a valuable candidate for us, regardless of the, because it costs money and time to educate people until they can actually produce things. So yeah, those are kind of the broad strokes.
Good.
For me personally, when finding first employees, I guess the advice that I would give back myself is be an absolute cheapskate. Don't give equity like you have to 100% of it, not 100%, and don't give too much of the money because there's a trap when doing a startup. You want to have the happiest employees. Happy employees are not sustainable. Jokes aside now. You just want to give everyone the best job possible. You want to convince them, but instead rather focus on the idea that you have. Like you want to build this awesome story. I want you on my journey. And give them, of course, comfortable wages, but make sure not to fall into that trap. And I've heard that from multiple people who had 2-3 startups. Each of them had a failure on the first startup, and that's the experience that helped me. They gave away too much equity. It wasn't sustainable. Or the issue is that you can always reward people with a bigger salary. In 3 months or 6 months, when you get funds, you can give them bigger equity. You cannot shoot them in the foot and say, hey, maybe it's we had a typo. It's not 10%. It's actually 1%. Sorry. So avoid that if anyone actually starts their own startup here. Definitely be cheapskates at start. But in terms of actually finding employees, just think about it as finding a wife or husband. Like you don't want to be with this. It's not your regular job where you go and see your colleague next to the table, and you don't have to actually. And this is a person that you might have to ping at midnight. You might have to ping him in the morning. He's going to have to oblige you essentially and believe in your trust in your idea. You don't want to work with somebody that's going to question every possible decision, and you don't want somebody unreliable. So rather skip somebody if you think it's not going to work out, just like with the marriage. So think of it that way, I guess.
Okay, lots of weddings coming. Great, good, no, perfect. So yeah, make sure you're patient was one of the things I heard. Also making sure it's the right fit for you, which actually goes into what you were saying, that if the founder is a cheapskate, so to speak, because they don't have those funds available, you want to have the people that are going to be patient and that are going to be passionate. So actually it should be a happy marriage, to use your terminology. Good, no divorces. Good, okay, so these guys are obviously going to be here later on. So if you have any more questions for them, you can find them. They're going to be here drinking beer. They're approachable people. They're nice people. You've heard from them now, yeah? He's a cheapskate, fine. Just don't work for him. No, I'm messing, cool. Thank you very much, guys. Round of applause, please.
You're welcome.
Thank you.